The electric bill showed up with a red stripe across the top, the kind that screams before you even open it. I'd been home from the clinic 10 minutes, Mom's pill organizer still open on the table, when I skimmed the disconnect date and grabbed my phone. The hold music lasted 3.5 minutes. I gave them my name, the address, and a debit card number. By the time Mom finished her evening laps from the hallway to the recliner with her walker, the account was in my name and the shutoff flag was gone. I'm Michelle, 36, newly divorced, and the person who picks up the ringing phone. I work as an office manager at a physical therapy clinic across town. Schedules, insurance codes, the quiet satisfaction of a highlighter moving down a stack of forms. When my mom, Nadine, 66, got on the list for a hip replacement this spring, I told myself I'd move in just through surgery. I brought my clothes, my coffee maker, and the spare key she's kept on a ceramic strawberry hook by the door since I was a teenager. My older sister Annabelle is 39 and likes to say she handles the big picture. The big picture apparently doesn't include red stripes on envelopes. Mom's place is a 2-bedroom rental in a small ranch house with a sloped driveway and magnolia stickers on the kitchen window. One room is hers. One is mine now. I moved in the week of her surgery, 8 weeks ago. I set my alarm earlier to help with showers, plastic cover over the incision, 2 towels ready on the sink. Then I'd drive to work with damp hair and come back for dinner, laundry, and meds. The first week, Annabelle was here twice for a few hours, upbeat and thin-lipped, taking photos of the pill bottle labels for the chat. After that, most of her managing happened from her phone. The utilities were a mess from before. Mom has always been more comfortable with cash than websites, and pain meds made the portals feel like small mazes. When the electric bill came with that stripe, I opened a new account in my name so they wouldn't flip the switch in the middle of Mom's recovery. I did the same with gas, and I restarted the internet so I could do my clinic schedule from home if she needed me, $62 a month, autopay on. The internet company wanted a photo of my ID and a selfie holding it, which made Mom laugh so hard she wheezed. I paid half the rent and split groceries down the middle in my Notes app, then moved receipts into a shoebox I slid under the bed. I didn't make a speech. I just kept the lights on. By week 4, Mom could stand up without my forearm under her palm. The walker clicks made a rhythm down the hallway that sounded like a promise. Steady, steady, soon. She practiced her physio exercises with a rolled towel and didn't complain, which is how you know she was in pain. When it was trash night, I hauled the bins to the curb and texted the family group chat a photo, so no one could say they didn't know how things got to the curb. Aunt Maria left a heart. Annabelle replied with a checklist of household roles that included trash rotation, TBD, and meal duties, flexible. She ended it with 3 sparkles. She didn't come by on trash day. I kept my head down. I replaced the bath mat with one that didn't slide. I labeled the med organizer by day and time and taped a printout to the inside of the cabinet door. I put Mom's grabber where she could reach it and stuck Post-its on the steps that said left then right after the therapist's visit. When I left for work at 8:10, I'd lock up and twist the spare key out of the lock with a satisfying click. It felt like being in charge of something small and necessary. Annabelle stopped by on a Tuesday at 7, dropping in like a district manager. She kissed Mom's cheek, took a pan of lasagna out of the fridge that I'd made Sunday, and opened her Notes app. "Okay," she said, sitting straight-backed on the edge of the chair. "We need to talk big picture." Mom looked at me, then at the lasagna, then at the TV remote. The evening news hummed about a city council meeting no one in this house would attend. "The big picture is Mom's follow-up is on Thursday, and I can take her," I said. I had already switched lunch shifts with Kenzie at the clinic so I could get the 11:40 appointment. "That's fine," Annabelle said. "But we need house rules." She said the words like they were fresh and helpful. Basic stuff. Dishes, noise, guests, timelines. You're here for a season, Michelle, and we need clarity. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and felt my mouth go dry. I thought about the red stripe and the hold music, the receipts in the shoebox under my bed, the way Mom had gripped my sleeve the first time we navigated the bathtub edge. I thought I'd earned a place at the table, until Annabelle started talking about house rules. Annabelle came back the next morning with a clipboard and a smile that looked like it might pinch. I had Mom in the bathroom, plastic sleeve over the incision, water turned to the safe side of warm. A mug sat in the sink, soaking. "You left a mug," Annabelle said, like she'd caught me shoplifting. "I'm rinsing shampoo out of Mom's hair," I said. I squeezed her shoulder and counted to 20 like the therapist showed us. Mom closed her eyes and let me tip her head back. The walker waited just outside the door like a loyal dog. Annabelle leaned into the hallway and spoke louder. "We're going to do a list, okay? House rules." I drafted some in notes. I wrapped Mom in a towel and walked her to the chair we kept by the tub. She patted my hand, a tiny apology to both of us. When she was dressed and settled with lotion on her calves, I wiped the sink and set the mug in the rack. At the kitchen table, Annabelle angled her phone so we could see bullet points. Dishes by end of day. Noise after 10 p.m. No. Trash schedule. Rotate. Guests must be cleared in advance. Timelines. TBD. She capped it with a heart and a sparkle and sent it to the family chat like a memo. "Fine," I said. "Thursday is Mom's follow-up at 11:40. "I already swapped lunch at the clinic." "Yes," she said. "I have a webinar then." "Then I'll take her," I said. "You can add that to the list." She ignored that and got a picture of the whiteboard where I kept Mom's med times. "We should standardize this," she said, as if I hadn't already. At work, between insurance calls, I made a cleaner medication chart. Columns for morning, noon, evening, bedtime, checkboxes. I printed 2 and laminated 1 with packing tape because we were out of sleeves. I took it home at lunch and taped it inside Mom's cabinet over the older version. The tape made a sharp sound in the quiet kitchen. Mom smiled at the fresh boxes. "You look like a nurse," she said. I said, "Just a secretary with a printer." The internet reminder hit my email at 2:06. Autopay queued for Friday, $62. I clicked Manage Payment and tried to remove my card. The portal told me I'd have to cancel the account to change the saved card. I stared at the screen like it might be joking. I left it alone. Mom watched YouTube stretches in the afternoons. Her favorite nurse posts reminded her how to pivot and sit with that little scoot. Cutting the Wi-Fi to make a point wasn't on my to-do list. In the chat, Annabelle followed up her house rules with a second message about timelines. "We all want what's best for Mom," she wrote. Hearts again. "But we need to be realistic about when Michelle is moving on to her next chapter." Aunt Maria reacted with an eye emoji. Mom sent a sunflower sticker and nothing else. I texted Annabelle directly. "Once Mom's steady, I'll transfer the electric and gas back. We can move the internet too. Let's pick dates." She bubbled, paused, bubbled again. "We'll get to it," she wrote. No need to overcomplicate. On Thursday, I signed Mom out through the patient portal and got her to the surgeon's office 10 minutes early. The PA looked at the incision, nodded, told her to keep walking, keep icing, and not to be a hero. Mom made a face at that and took the new printout with the same hands that hate computers. On the way home, she wanted a vanilla shake. We split one in the car with the AC blowing hard. It felt like a tiny summer day, just her and me, traffic inching along Main. When we got home, she climbed the 2 steps with her left then right post-it mantra and sat like a queen in her chair. Annabelle texted at 5:12. "Dinner tonight? I can stop by." She arrived at 6:30 and lifted the lid on the slow cooker like she'd made the roast herself. We set plates, and Mom's appetite surprised me in the best way. We talked about the PA's advice, about how the pain was now more of a background hum. Annabelle nodded, looking at her phone. When the electric's back in Mom's name, I said. I need the portal login. The company won't let me remove my card without closing the account. We'll get to it, she said, not looking up. Don't stress. I'm not stressed. I'm saying let's set it up now so there's no gap later. She forked a carrot, chewed, and swallowed like she was timing the swallow. Then she wiped her mouth and smiled at Mom. It's just, we have to remember Michelle is a guest here. The word slid across the table and landed in my lap like a countdown. Mom's fork paused mid-air. The fridge hummed, steady as a metronome. I took a breath and looked at the key on the ceramic strawberry hook by the door, the one I used every morning. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. The word did its own work. By the weekend, Mom could clear the 2 porch steps without me hovering. Left, then right, she muttered, tapping the post-it I'd stuck on the doorframe like it was a charm. Her knee bends looked smoother. The walker clicks were less about survival and more like a metronome. Annabelle arrived with a paint swatch fan, fanning it over Mom's lap like a deck of magic cards. We should brighten your room, she said. New chapter energy. Mom smiled politely and rubbed the paper with her thumb. That one looks like sherbet. Annabelle turned the fan toward me. And speaking of chapters, we need to talk timeline for you finding your own space. The way she said it made it sound like a professional development plan. I set the laundry basket on the couch and kept my voice even. Fine. Give me a date and a key that works until then. I'm not paying anything I can't get into. She blinked, a tiny hitch, like she hadn't expected terms. Don't be dramatic, Michelle. No one's saying you can't be here. You called me a guest, I said, not loud, just flat. Guests don't have portal logins. Guests don't put the electric in their name to stop a shutoff. Mom's eyes slid to the TV and back to me. Girls, she said, soft. She hates when our voices get edges. Annabelle flipped to a swatch labeled Morning Cream. I'm talking about clarity, she said. We all need it. Maybe end of the month? We'll see. A date, I said. Not we'll see. And the key. She rolled her eyes and let the paint talk swallow the moment. Mom, do you like blues? Maybe an accent wall behind the bed. Mom laughed into her sleeve. I like the color where no one is fussing. We ate leftovers. I reheated the roast and mashed the potatoes with a splash more milk. On the commercial breaks, Mom dutifully flexed her ankles, 10 counts each, like the printout said. Annabelle scrolled and added heart emojis to the chat when our cousin posted a puppy video. On her way out, she tapped the ceramic strawberry hook with 2 fingers, like it was a bell. After dishes, I pulled the shoebox from under my bed and sat on the floor with my phone. I laid everything out. The first electric notice with the red stripe, the gas setup confirmation, the internet account email with the blurry selfie holding my ID, the $62 autopay line, the rent memo from my banking app, the grocery receipts with my half highlighted. I took photos, one by one. No commentary, no arrows. In the family chat, I dropped them in order like breadcrumbs. The chat pinged. Aunt Maria. Noted. Annabelle's typing dots appeared, vanished, returned. Then nothing. Mom shuffled to my doorway and rested her hand on the frame. She looked smaller at night, without her lipstick. Don't make waves, she said, barely above a whisper. Not now. I'm not, I said. I'm writing down what I do. She dabbed the corner of her eye with a tissue. You've always written things down. It keeps me honest, I said. It keeps us all honest. She squeezed the doorframe once and went back down the hall, the walker catching the light like a harness. I slept light. It's a funny thing, sleeping in your childhood house as an adult. Every sound you used to know, ice maker, plumbing thunk, becomes an alert. I woke at 6:40 to the sound of a car door and let it go. At 7:05, I put coffee on and packed Mom's morning pills into my pocket in case she drifted back to sleep and needed a hand. She didn't. When I peeked in, she was awake, watching a video of a nurse showing how to work a resistance band. "Look," she said. "She's got a cat in the background." "I'll run to the mailbox," I said. The mail slot sometimes holds yesterday's late envelopes if the carrier shoves too hard. I grabbed my sweatshirt and the spare key, light as change in my palm. Outside, the air had that early warmth that means the day will tip hot. I walked to the curb, thumbed 2 circulars and a credit card offer into the recycling bin, and came back up the steps. The front knob looked the same. I slid the key in. It went halfway, then stopped. I pulled back, tried the little jiggle I've done since high school. It stuck like gum. I checked the stamp on the key, in case I'd grabbed the mailbox one by mistake. No. I pressed my ear to the door. Inside, the fridge hummed, and the morning show chuckled about weekend weather. I tried again, harder, then stopped before I snapped anything. I knocked. "It's me," I called, feeling foolish even as I said it. The TV volume went up a notch, or maybe that was my blood. Mom's curtain at the side window didn't move. The lock didn't budge. I stood there with the key warm in my hand and the taste of coffee in my mouth, and I understood something basic and solid. A key that doesn't turn is a word, and it wasn't guessed. It was out. My phone started buzzing in the staff meeting, a steady vibration against the metal chair. We were going through next month's provider schedules, me taking notes out of habit even though I could build the template in my sleep. The family chat lit the screen over and over. Annabelle's name, then the preview. "I can't carry a leech anymore." Sophia's knee pressed against mine under the table, a quick squeeze like a seatbelt tightening. "Breathe," she mouthed. I had left the house that morning after knocking until Mom shuffled the deadbolt and cracked the door. "It's sticking," she said, like the lock had a personality. I didn't make her fuss with it. I grabbed my car keys and left my tote by the chair to help her get back to the recliner without a new negotiation with the door. I told myself I'd sort the lock after work. In the clinic conference room, I opened the chat. Annabelle's message sat there without an emoji, bare and sharp. A cluster of red receipts lined up under it. Mom, Aunt Maria, cousins. No one else had typed. I raised my hand for the first time in that meeting ever. "I need to step out," I said. Our lead therapist glanced at me and saw my face. "Go," she said quietly. In the hallway, Sophia followed. "Do you want me to drive you?" she asked, phone already in her palm. "I've got my car," I said. My voice sounded like I'd borrowed it. "Can you cover the phones for an hour?" She nodded. "Text me when you land. Michelle, don't go in alone if it's weird." "It's already weird," I said. "I'll keep it boring." The drive back felt muscle-memoried, hand-to-turn signal automatic. The ceramic strawberry hook flashed in my head like a stupid cartoon. At the house, my key turned just enough to give me hope, then stopped hard. Through the front window, my tote bag sat on the chair by the door, strap flopped like a lazy elbow. I could see the corner of the shoebox peeking from under my bed down the hall if I leaned right and squinted. The TV was on low. A daytime judge show arbitrated tiny dramas. I knocked. "Mom?" I said through the wood. "It's me. Text from Annabelle. We'll put your stuff on the porch when we can." I typed, "I live here. I need my things." No dots. Then, "You're making this harder than it has to be." Behind the curtain at the side window, a shadow moved. The lace lifted a half-inch. I saw one eye, watery, then Mom's mouth formed the words, "I'm sorry." The curtain fell. I went back to the car and sat with both hands on the wheel. The summer air sat in the driveway like soup. Somewhere down the block, someone cut their grass. The smell came in hot and green. My phone vibrated again. Annabelle in the chat. "I have done everything. I will not be taken advantage of. Boundaries." She had added a period after each sentence, like little nails. I opened my photos and scrolled past the receipts I'd sent the night before. Cheery rectangles, tidy dates, amounts that added up to a life. I could feel the place where my throat wanted to explain itself, to turn into a paragraph. I did not feed it. Instead, I opened contacts and tapped the non-emergency line I'd looked up once for a neighbor's loud party and never used. It rang twice. "Dispatch," a woman said, efficient, bored in the way that means she's good at her job. "Hi," I said. "I'm requesting a civil standby. Tell me what's going on." "My sister changed the locks," I said. "My mother is inside. I've been living here since my mom's hip surgery. I need to collect my belongings. I'm calm. I don't want it to escalate." She asked for my name, the address, whether there were weapons, whether anyone was yelling. "No," I said to all of it. The only sound was the AC unit chugging next door. "Okay," she said. "We can have an officer meet you there in about 25 to 30. Stay in your vehicle. If they put items out, do not step onto the porch until the officer arrives." "Thank you," I said, and immediately felt ridiculous for using a customer service tone. "Sit tight," she said. "If anything changes, screaming, threats, call 911. "Got it." I texted Sophia, called non-emergency, waiting for a standby. She sent back 3 words, "I'm on call." I put my phone face down on my thigh and watched the front door. The knob didn't move. A postal truck clattered past without stopping. A kid pedaled by with a backpack that was too big for him, and I wondered if he knew yet that you can do everything right and still get the key that doesn't turn. 20 minutes in, a cruiser rolled up slow and parked behind me. The officer inside, square jaw, sunglasses, nodded once when we made eye contact. My hands shook, then steadied. I swallowed, unclipped my seatbelt, and made myself small and useful again. I walked to meet him on the sidewalk, like I was signing for a package. The officer took off his sunglasses and introduced himself like we were starting a meeting. "Hopkins," he said. "You called for a civil standby?" "Yes," I said. "My sister changed the locks. My things are inside. I've been living here since my mom's surgery." He nodded once, took in the lace curtain, the closed door, the tote visible through the window. "Who's on the lease?" "Mom," I said. "I pay half the rent to her. Utilities are in my name." "I can't force entry," he said, calm and scripted. "What I can do is ask whoever is inside to hand out your items while I'm here. We'll keep everyone calm. If it turns into a property dispute, that's civil court." "That's fine," I said. "I want it boring." He rapped on the door with his knuckles. "Police," he said, voice steady. "We're here for a civil standby. Can someone open up?" The deadbolt turned and the door opened 6 inches. Annabelle filled the gap, chin high, ponytail tight. "We were just about to bring her things out," she said, like she'd been planning generosity all morning. "Good," Hopkins said. "Let's do that now." Annabelle disappeared and the door closed. I stood on the top step but not over the threshold. Mom's voice floated from the living room, small. "Michelle?" "I'm here," I said. "I'm right here." The door opened again and Annabelle handed me a box like an evidence bag, shoes on top, my coffee mugs clinking under a sweater. I set it on the sidewalk by my car. She brought another, the tote from the chair, zipped, my clinic badge peeking out. Then my laundry basket with my folded t-shirts, the ones I'd put away in the second bedroom myself 8 weeks ago. On the third trip, Mom shuffled into view, arms open. Annabelle nudged her back with 2 fingers on her elbow. "Mom, let's not," she said. Hopkins stepped closer. "Ma'am, you can hug your daughter at the doorway," he said, not unkind. Mom leaned in and did one of those careful hugs that are more about presence than pressure. I could smell her lotion. "You eat," she said into my hair, like I was 11 again. "I will," I said. "Do your ankle pumps." Annabelle was already back with the shoebox. She held it like she'd found contraband. "This is yours?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Receipts." She hesitated, then handed it over. The door stayed mostly closed. We did the handoff dance until my trunk was half full. Hopkins looked at me. Anything else essential? Medication, documents? My passport's in my nightstand, I said. I kept my voice level. And I need my work shoes. They're under the bed. Annabelle's mouth pinched. We'll put them on the porch later. Hopkins turned his head just slightly. Now would be good. We waited. A minute later, the door opened and a pair of flats and a passport slid across the mat like we were bartering. I picked them up and stepped back. I looked at Annabelle, at the gap she was guarding like a security gate. No key, I said, quiet. No pay, no care. Her eyes flashed. Wow. It's a policy, I said. House rules. Hopkins made a small sound that might have been a cough or a laugh he swallowed. That it? He asked me. That's it, I said. I shut the trunk. Mom's face hovered in the window, one hand to the glass. I waved and didn't trust myself to do more. Hopkins gave me a card printed with a generic non-emergency number and Hopkins scrawled at the top. If it escalates, he said, call. Thank you, I said. The words tasted like dust. I drove back to the clinic parking lot and sat in the car with the AC blowing until my skin caught up with me. Inside, Sophia pressed a cold bottle of water into my hand and didn't ask for a story. Later, she said. For now, drink. That night, I opened my laptop at the little table by Mom's kitchen window out of habit and then remembered I didn't live there anymore. I took it to my car and used my hotspot. Electric first. I logged in, clicked Move to Discontinue, and scheduled a final reading for 48 hours out. The website asked, Are you moving? I typed, Locks changed in the notes. Gas next. Same steps. Final read in 48. Internet. Auto pay off, card removed, service end date set for 2 days from now. I copied the transfer numbers the companies provided and pasted them into a note. I took screenshots of each confirmation. In the family chat, I sent them, one by one, with the dates circled in the apps. Then I emailed the same notice to Annabelle and Mom, CC'd Aunt Maria, subject line, utility account changes. In the body, as the account holder, I've scheduled final reads and service end for electric, gas, internet for address in 48 hours. To avoid interruption, call numbers to transfer to your name. I will not be paying further charges for a residence I do not have access to. Michelle. In the chat, Annabelle's dots appeared, stopped, started, stopped. Then nothing. Aunt Maria reacted to the email with a simple, received. The weather app pinged an alert about a heat advisory creeping in for the weekend. Saturday showed 90 and sticky. I pictured the fridge going quiet, the hum cutting out. I told myself I was not a breaker. I was a person turning off what she had turned on. In the morning, I woke up in the guest room at Sophia's. She'd offered her couch, I'd taken the floor and a blanket out of habit, and showered fast. On my lunch break, I found a listing wedged between junk on a rentals board. Month-to-month studio, window unit, tiny kitchen, walkable to the clinic. The photos showed a humming beige fridge, with a magnet shaped like a pear still stuck to it, like a promise. I called. A man answered on the second ring. Pearson, he said. You're calling about the studio? Yes, I said. I can be there at 12:40. 12:45, he said. Bring first month and a deposit. No pets, no drama. No drama, I echoed. At 12:45, he handed me a simple lease with blank spaces and a pen that wrote on the first try. The window unit rattled in a way I already knew I could sleep through. I signed. He handed me a key that turned right away. I slid it onto my ring and put my phone face down on the counter. For the first time in days, I didn't need to look at it. The steady hum in the corner told me everything I needed to know. Saturday started with 3 confirmation emails in a row. Electric final read complete at 9:18 a.m., gas scheduled for noon, internet disconnected at 9:30. Each subject line was neutral, like a weather report. At 9:22, Annabelle called. "Everything just shut off," she said, already in a sprint. "Just turn it back on." "It doesn't work like that," I said. I had one knee on the floor in my studio, tightening a screw on a thrifted table I'd found on Marketplace for $20. The window unit rattled. The beige fridge hummed like a cat. "You have to open new accounts. I sent you the numbers." "You're being ridiculous," she said. "Mom's here. It's 90 degrees. "Then call now," I said. "They can expedite if you pay the deposit. Keep Mom cool. Wet washcloth on the neck, fans, open the shaded windows. Store the milk and meat in a cooler with ice until the fridge is back on. If you have to, take her to the library or the mall." "You're punishing Mom." "I'm enforcing what I wrote down," I said. "No key, no pay. I gave 48 hours and the transfer info. I can't flip anything. I'm not a breaker." She hung up. 30 seconds later, the family chat lit up. "Utilities off." "Michelle cut us off," Aunt Maria replied. "This is what keys and respect are for." I piled another box next to the table and opened it. Coffee maker, 2 mugs, the blue dish towel I liked. I plugged the coffee maker into the wall just because I could. The little light blinked to life. The difference between an outlet that worked and one that didn't felt like a moral. At 10:04, Annabelle called again, voice higher. "The lady says there's a deposit and a reconnection fee." "Can't you just put it back in your name for a week?" "No," I said. "I don't live there. I'm not paying for a house I don't have access to. Call them. The number's in the email." "You're being heartless." "I'm being clear," I said. "Keep Mom cool." Silence, then a click. A text followed with a photo of the thermostat and the current temp. 84. This is cruel. I sent back the utility link again and the line the rep had told me yesterday. "If service ends, the easiest way is to open a new account in your name. Phone number." "You'll need the meter number on your bill." I added, "Do you have ice? If not, drive to the corner store." No reply. I drove back to the old house for one last box I'd left in my trunk spot under the carport, a crate of pantry staples I'd bought on autopilot last week, rice, peanut butter, a bag of coffee, and forgotten I'd paid for. I didn't go to the door. The house looked sealed, curtains pulled against the heat. The air around the carport had that bright, mean quality of late morning in July. I loaded the crate into my back seat and left without knocking. At the studio, I slid the crate under the counter and rinsed the new mug. I made coffee. I set the shoebox of receipts in the middle of the thrifted table like a centerpiece. It looked ridiculous and right. I texted Sophia a photo of the table and the rattly window unit in the background. She sent back a thumbs up and, "Proud of you. Come by for dinner?" "Tomorrow," I wrote. "Mom's Sundays, maybe." The chat pinged again. Annabelle. "We're doing everything and you're sitting pretty." I thought about sending a paragraph and didn't. Instead, I typed, "Transfer is faster if you're the one calling. Keep Mom cool. Store perishables on ice." Aunt Maria reacted to my earlier email with a simple, "Received." Then in the chat, "I have ice chests if needed." There was a long pause in the thread, the kind of quiet that feels heavy even through a phone. I pictured Mom with a washcloth at her neck, doing her ankle pumps with the TV off, the house making the strange, empty sound of no hum. She has always liked the background murmur of appliances. The quiet would be louder than any fight. At noon, the gas company email buzzed, "Final read complete." I slid another chair under my little table and stuck the lease in a folder in a drawer. Mr. Pearson had been very clear. No pets, rent on the first, no drama. He lived down the hall and fixed what he could fix. I could live with that. Annabelle called again at 1:17, voice down to a frayed whisper. "They say they can come today if I pay the fee. It's a lot." "I know," I said. "Once it's in your name, it's yours to manage. Fridge will need time to get cold again. Don't open it if you can help it. You're enjoying this." I'm not, I said. I'm drinking coffee at a table I assembled wrong on one leg. That's the extent of my joy. She didn't laugh. Mom is sweating. Wet her hairline, I said. Put her feet in a basin of cool water. Sit her in front of the fan. Take her to Aunt Maria's if you need AC while you wait. Another click. By late afternoon, the studio smelled like coffee and cardboard. I folded the last empty box flat and slid it behind the fridge. I made a list on the back of an envelope. Shower curtain, 2 plates, a broom. I was tired in a way that felt clean. My phone vibrated once more. A photo from Annabelle. A tub of melted ice cream collapsed in its own sadness on the counter. A spoon stuck in like a flag. "Hope you're happy," she wrote. I set the phone down face first. Then I slid my finger and turned on Do Not Disturb. The window unit rattled, the fridge hummed, and for the first time in a week, the only thing I had to keep alive in this room was me. Monday morning, I had the clinic printer humming before the first patient limped in. I printed the utility confirmations with the final read amounts, the account closeouts with the dates circled, and the internet statement with the neat $62.00 line on it. I slid them into a manila folder and stuck a post-it on the front. For Annabelle. At 8:05, my phone buzzed. "I'm outside," she texted, followed by a photo of my building's entry door and her sunglasses reflected in the glass. I took the stairs down. The hallway smelled like lemon cleaner. "Mr. Pearson's door cracked open, and then closed again with the soft decisiveness of a man who does not want to be involved. Annabelle stood on the sidewalk with her arms folded, the brittle smile on. "We're family," she said, like it was a trump card. I held up the folder. "These are the final charges through the shutoff. Electric, gas, and the internet I paid Friday, 62. I said the 62 like it was a street address. Her jaw worked. "You put Mom through hell this weekend." "You changed the locks on the account holder," I said. "You don't get access without terms." "You're selfish," she said, almost conversational, like we were trying on labels. I opened the folder on the hood of her car and lined up the papers. The sun warmed the metal. "These are the totals I covered. The reconnection fees and deposits are yours. The transfer numbers are on the bottom of each page." She glanced down. The printouts were my favorite kind of argument. Dates, amounts, account numbers that don't care about tone. "You could have flipped it back on," she said, softer now, like she was hoping there was a magic you-only switch I'd been hiding. "I couldn't," I said. "That's not how it works." For a full 30 seconds, we just listened to the morning traffic and the window unit in my place rattling behind the brick. Then she pulled out her phone and opened Venmo. "How much?" she said, not a question but a resignation. I totaled with my finger. $84.79 for electric through the end date, $31.62 for gas, $62 for internet. I had highlighted them already. The numbers felt clean in my mouth. She typed and showed me the screen like we were making a toast. The amounts matched, down to the 62. The transfer ding hit my phone a second later. "Thank you," I said, because being right doesn't cancel out manners. "Now call and put the accounts in your name. They'll ask for the meter number, it's on the bill. They'll want a deposit and reconnection fee." "I know how to make a phone call," she snapped, and then, to the air, "We're doing everything and you're—" She cut herself off and hit dial. I stood there, arms down, while she spoke the address and spelled our last name and answered security questions. "Yes," she said into the phone. "The power is off." "No. We don't need a technician inside." "Yes, I can pay today." She recited a card number, winced at the fee, and approved it anyway. She did gas next, pacing a little, her ponytail lashing once at each turn. When she hung up, she stared at the stack again like it might jump. "Mom was sweating," she said. "She's 76. 66, I said. "And you should still keep her cool today. Fridge'll need hours. Don't open it unless you have to." She blinked at the correction, like it had snagged on something. Whatever. She texted Aunt Maria for ice. It was humiliating. Aunt Maria offered, I said. Also, humiliation isn't a heat index. She flinched. Dad would be disgusted. Dad liked paying bills on time, I said. He'd like the parts where the lights work. My voice didn't crack, and I was quietly proud of that. She gathered herself up taller. I'm going to take care of Mom, she said, the sermon she knows by heart. Good, I said. That's the job. She looked at my door, at the 2 steps up and the little entry light over the threshold. Don't worry, I'm not asking for a key. Good, I repeated, and meant it. She got in her car and started it, then turned it off and rolled the window down. You can still come by, she said, trying one last angle. If you're reasonable. No, I said, not without a key. She drove away. Upstairs, I put the folder on my little table next to the shoebox. The window unit coughed and then steadied. I texted Sophia. She paid and called. I didn't die, and she sent back a string of celebratory vegetables for reasons only she understands. Work was a blur of rescheduled evals and a printer jam that felt almost luxurious in its normalcy. At lunch, I walked to the pharmacy for a shower curtain and 2 plates, and came back with cheap flowers because the bundle near the register looked like they belonged on a table that tried. At 6:14 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Can I come to you on Sundays? I stared at the screen until the words steadied. I typed back, yes, every Sunday. I added my address and a heart, the only emoji I can use without irony. I set 2 plates on the table to see how they fit and put the flowers in a jar. Then I went to the door and flipped on the little entry light above it. It glowed a warm, tired yellow, the kind of light you can find from the parking lot without thinking. I left it on. Sunday morning, I set the AC to human and rinsed a jar for grocery store daisies. I cracked eggs into a bowl and chopped half an onion, small. The window unit rattled like it always did, then settled into its steady work. I put 2 plates on the table and slid the shoebox of receipts to the side like it lived here, which it did. I drove to Mom's at 10. The house looked the same except for the blinds pulled half up like someone had remembered light mattered. Annabelle walked Mom out with the walker and a tote bag. She kept her sunglasses on. I'll be back at 2, she said, a little too bright. 2 works, I said. I opened the passenger door and held the walker while Mom pivoted in. She did it like a pro. Left then right, sit, scoot. Annabelle tapped the roof like she was sending us off to prom. Text if you need anything, she said to the air. We're fine, I said. At my building, Mr. I. Pearson held the front door with his elbow and gave Mom a short nod. Afternoon, he said. He looked at the walker, then at me. Use the side ramp by the planter. 2 steps are shorter there. Thanks, I said. We did the side route and Mom took the steps with the post-it cadence she'd adopted as a prayer. Inside, she stopped just past the threshold and smiled at nothing in particular. It's cool in here, she said, patting her collarbone. It works, I said. I set her bag down, slid a chair back, and put a folded towel on the seat. She sat and sighed like she'd found a neutral gear. The omelets were simple: eggs, onion, cheddar, a little spinach I'd talked myself into buying. Mom did her ankle pumps while I whisked. The fridge hummed. The entry light I'd left on glowed its tired yellow. Unnecessary in daylight, but reassuring anyway. These are nice, she said, pointing at the daisies. On sale, I said. Very fancy. We ate and watched the quiet street below my window do its Sunday version of busy. A dog walker, a jogger, a kid on a scooter. Mom chewed slowly, then pushed her empty plate forward like she was clearing space for something better. I asked Annabelle if she wanted a key to your place, she said, eyes on the table. I thought maybe she'd feel more, I don't know, included. We're not doing that, I said. Mom's shoulders rose, then dropped. She waited for the air to change. It didn't. Okay, she said. Good. She took a sip of water. It's nice to be somewhere where no one is performing. We spent an hour doing ordinary. I showed her the medication chart I'd printed for myself, because apparently I can't live in a space without a chart. And she laughed. You'll laminate your grocery list next, she said. I might, I said. Don't dare me. My phone pinged on the counter. The family chat. A photo of our cousin's bulldog in a hat. Aunt Maria reacted with 3 hearts. Annabelle typed, cute, and a cake emoji for a birthday reminder. No nails, no lectures. The thread felt like a hallway with the doors closed, quiet and functional. How are the lights? I asked. On, Mom said. And it's colder again. Annabelle complained about the fee to the lady on the phone and the lady didn't care. I liked that lady. She was doing her job, I said. So am I. Mom looked around at the little space like she was cataloging it. The thrifted table, the jar of flowers, the tidy sink. This is you, she said, plain in the good way. I'll put that on a pillow, I said. We rinsed plates together, me washing, her drying because she needs to stand a little each hour. She asked about Sophia, and I told her about the time a patient tried to tip me with a pineapple he'd brought in his backpack. She told me Aunt Maria had brought over stew in plastic containers and refused to stay for dinner because she didn't want to sit in anyone's tension. We let that line sit without touching it. At 1:45, I helped Mom into her sandals. She took a last slow look at the room like she was memorizing it, not because it was grand, but because it fit. I walked her down the side ramp. Annabelle pulled up at the curb right on 2, punctual when it makes a statement. You could bring the key to us, she said, chin toward my building. No, I said. Sundays, yes. Drop-offs, yes. No keys. She made a face like she'd bitten something too tart and nodded. Fine. Mom reached for my hand. Next Sunday, she said, like we hadn't already agreed. Every Sunday, I said. Text me what you want for lunch. I can do pancakes if you're feeling reckless. Back upstairs, I cleared the table and set the plates to dry on a dish towel that had seen better days. I paid my electric bill on my phone without having to half lie about an address. The autopay confirmation looked ordinary and clean. I scrolled through the chat. Dogs, birthdays, a casserole photo from Aunt Maria with a caption that read, "Too much time." No one wrote leech. No one needed to. Sophia texted a picture of a pothos cutting in a thrifted mug. For your window, she wrote. I told her to bring it by later. Mr. Pearson's TV murmured down the hall. The building hummed with the quiet work of people living. When I set the flowers back in the center of the table, my hand brushed the switch for the entry light. It held its steady glow, same as it had when Mom sat here and ate and laughed and didn't flinch at the mention of keys. She'd pushed her empty plate forward and said, "This feels safe," and it had. It did. The hum, the light, the rules that lived in actions. I left the light on. Sunday would come back around. The door would open. And the lights would work.